What would you do if all of your dreams came true? Like everything you're hoping for, wishing for, praying for actually happened. Then what? What would be the next step? So I want to just kind of rewind the clock for me a little bit today, and maybe rewind the clock for you as well. And some of you, this may be exactly where you are, but I want to just kind of walk us through what life is kind of like for most of us living in Brantford in 2019 or thereabouts. So when I was in high school, and maybe when you were in high school, you thought when I just finish high school, life will be great. I mean, high school was okay, it was good, but I thought when I move into adulthood and get on with my own life, then life would be good. Get to college and life will be so much better in college than it. Anyway, so I graduated high school and went to college. And I'm in college, and college was fine, but when I just finish college and I'm starting to earn money, real money, then life will be good. And then I graduated college, and I started working. But it's a lot of us when we graduate college, it's not sort of the career we were after. It's sort of like an entry-level position, and it's maybe a lower-level position than you think you deserve, and it's not everything you would hope it for be. So you begin to think, it's okay, but when I get out of this job and into my career, then life will really start working for me. So you work hard, you work long hours, you go the extra mile, people recognize you're good at what you do, and they promote you. And now you're into your career position. And maybe you're leading a team, maybe you're managing a department, maybe you're overseeing an entire organization, and it's good. But you still think, life would be better if I own my own company. Like right now I'm working hard, but it's really for somebody else. If I could just work for myself, then life would be really good. So you work hard, and you save some money, and an opportunity comes along, and you buy your own business. And now you're working even harder. But things go very, very well. Actually, it goes better than anticipated. It starts to blossom, and people love your company, and it's thriving. And now you have teams of people and managers working for you and people overseeing your business. You're thriving. And you just think to yourself, I'm working so hard. Life will be so great when I get to retirement. And then all the hard work I've done pays off, and I can just enjoy my life. And then you retire. And your kids want you to babysit their kids. And your bones ache because you worked so hard for so many years. And you think life will be better when... What comes after retirement? This is life. We're always hoping for the next thing, believing that the next thing is the thing that we're really hoping for, that we'll find true satisfaction and fulfillment in the next thing. I want you to think right now, not about your whole life, but one thing that you're hoping and wishing for right now. And why are you hoping and wishing for it? What do you think will happen when you get it? You think you'll experience some greater measure of fulfillment, some greater measure of satisfaction. When you think about it, life up until this point should have taught you that it's probably going to underdeliver. It's not going to give you everything that you had been hoping for. What if all your dreams came true? I want you to think about this for a minute here this morning. Remember when you wanted what you currently have. It felt a lot like how you feel right now. That if I could just get that next thing, then I'll be satisfied. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. We're in this sort of treadmill, this repeating cycle where we just think the next thing is where fulfillment will be found. The next thing is where satisfaction will be found. We go our whole life thinking that satisfaction is just one more step, one more purchase, one more relationship away. And we pursue it, we pursue it, and we pursue it over and over and over again. The problem is, it's always just one more step away. We never seem to find that one thing that's going to fill up the hole. Well, welcome to, this is week 5 of this series that we're calling Blindsided, and we're exploring overcoming the 6 greatest challenges that no one expects and everyone experiences. And over the last 4 weeks, we've looked at topics like cynicism and loneliness and irrelevance and burnout. these challenges we face in this culture we live in. We're going to look at another one today. We're looking at emptiness. And I believe that this is one of the ones that many of us struggle with. That this is a challenge that a lot of people in our culture, in our society, in this world where we live, where everyone has basically everything they could possibly want. And we still struggle with emptiness and loneliness. Like this is a room full of winners. Like globally speaking, we have it all. We've accomplished, we've achieved, we've collected so much that the rest of the world is wanting. They still want what we already have. But still, in our North American successful culture, there's still an emptiness. Like all this stuff isn't filling the void inside. It's not solving our need and our want for more. Well, we're using in this series a book called Didn't See It Coming. It's by a guy named Carey Nieuwhof. And I'm going to lean a little bit more into Carey Nieuwhof's content this week than I have the other weeks. I just think it's important for you to give credit where credit is due. And so Carey Nieuwhof is really informing kind of what I want to share today. But he did say this. He said that emptiness so many people experience in life is more intense in success than it is in failure. I think some of us feel more empty the more we have because we realize that we've got so much and still we feel empty, and it just sort of magnifies the emptiness. Like, how come I don't feel more satisfied with this great life that I have? And so it sort of magnifies it. I agree with what Carey Nieuwhof is saying there. And we pursue and we pursue. I think with TVs. So when Una and I first got married, we had a 20-inch 4:3 ratio TV. You know, it was as deep as it was wide. And it was fine. We would watch TV together. But when we got married, I was still finishing college. And so I was working part-time, going to school part-time. I worked part-time at Sears on the docks. And so that meant I unloaded trucks and I carried heavy equipment out for customers. And so one of the things I carried a lot of was big screen TVs. And I'd take them out onto the floor, and then some very fortunate person would come and buy the big screen TV, and then I would take it to their car for them. Big screen back then was 36 inches. All right, so this is a while ago. But I remember I would take TVs in and out and think, oh man, I would love a big screen TV. But I was in school, we couldn't afford it. Well, eventually I graduated, we had a little bit more money, and so we bought a bigger TV. I couldn't afford the 36-inch, but I got a 32-inch TV. And it was great until they changed the formats of TV, went from square to widescreen. And now I wanted a widescreen TV. That 32-inch that was so great now wasn't so great. I wanted a widescreen HD television. I needed it. If I had it, I would be happier. And so then I was working, and I won a competition at work, and I won a 42-inch widescreen TV. And this was, 13 years ago. At that point, it was the biggest TV that anyone that I knew had. I had the biggest TV. I was the envy of all my family and friends. 42 inches. And then 1080p came out. And my 720 42-inch was really not that great. It left me wanting more. And now 42 inches really is about as small a TV as you can buy anymore. And there's 65s and 75s and 85s, and it's gone to 4K and smart TVs, 8K. And I still have my 42-inch 720p. And if I could just get a bigger TV, I'd be happier. But I know that's not true. Because the 42-inch TV made me happy for a little while, and then it wasn't enough. And I could go out and I could buy the best TV, the 8K, the 85-inch 8K TV, and next year it won't be good enough. And I'll want something else. We pursue more and more and more, thinking that there's greater satisfaction there, but I'm just telling you, and you know this to be true, it overpromises and underdelivers. It's not enough. Satisfaction can't be found in those things. Well, it's Thanksgiving today, so probably what I should be saying is the key to satisfaction is being thankful with what you have. And that's partly true, but it's not all the way true. And I think it's a good practice to be thankful for the things you have. I'm thankful for the TV that I do have. But this is also true. Being grateful doesn't always leave you feeling full. I think thankfulness is part of the answer, but it's not the full answer. Think about this. If you met a homeless person on the street who hadn't eaten for 3 days and you gave them a sandwich, I bet you they'd be thankful, but they might not be full. They can appreciate what they have, but it doesn't actually leave them feeling satisfied. And so many of us, we live in this world and we have so much, and we're appreciative for what we have. We're thankful for what we have, but we still know, if we're honest, that even all that stuff that we're thankful for, we're still not feeling full. It's not giving us fulfillment and satisfaction. Well, today I want to look at the book of Ecclesiastes. Not because I think we'll find the answer there, but because the problem gets magnified there. And so the book of Ecclesiastes was written by a guy named Solomon, and Solomon enjoyed the best that life had to offer and still wasn't satisfied. Look what he says as he opens his book. It's kind of like reading his journal. He says this in verse 2, "Everything is meaningless," says the teacher, Solomon, "completely meaningless." So Solomon, for those you don't know, he was a king. He's the king of Israel. He's sort of the Jeff Bezos of his day, right? Like he had more money than you could dream of. Like the gap between him and the average person was huge. You know that Jeff Bezos, I read this week, they looked at the numbers. The average person who works for Amazon, Jeff Bezos owns Amazon. The average person who works for Amazon makes $28,000 US dollars a year. Well, someone thought it would be interesting to figure out how long it takes Jeff Bezos to make the same amount of money. It takes him less than 10 seconds. What I want you to see is that Solomon was wealthier than Jeff Bezos. Like the gap between him and the common man was greater. There was nothing that he couldn't have. Everything that he wanted, he got. Whatever TV he wanted to hang on the wall, he hung it on the wall, all right? And he says, everything is meaningless. When he says everything, he means everything. I tried it all. Everything is meaningless. That's an interesting word. I want us to get the heart of what Solomon is saying. He's saying that there's nothing to be found in the pursuit of these things. There's no satisfaction. There's no fulfillment. He said, take my word on it. I tried it all. I went further down this road than you could ever dream of going. Meaningless is still at the end. Every next step, it's more meaningless and more meaninglessness and meaninglessness. It'll leave you feeling empty with no peace and no sense of fulfillment. Well, Solomon, he was the king of Israel, so he was very, very wealthy, but he was actually also very, very wise. They say he was the wisest man who ever lived. Other national leaders would come to him and pay him for his advice. He was wise. He was powerful. He took this new country, the country of Israel, and he took it from this fledgling country and raised it up to a superpower of its day. He was a powerful leader. It says that he had, between his wives and his concubines, there was over 1,000 of them. Whatever you could dream of, Solomon ran down that road further than you could ever hope to get. And he says, it's all meaningless, completely meaningless. Well, I want to look at what he says in some more details. We're going to work through the first couple chapters of Ecclesiastes quickly. It says this in verse 3. What do people get for all their hard work under the sun? You go to school, you go to college, you get a trade, you work hard, you move forward in your career. What do you get for it? What's on the other side of all that? This describes our culture. We're working hard. For what? This is what Solomon says at the end of it. Verse 4-7. Generations come and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises, the sun sets, and hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south and then turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. Then the water returns again to the rivers and flows out again to the sea. You aren't making a difference. That's what Solomon says. For all his hard work, for all his effort, for everything he accomplished, he looked back on his life and he said, meaningless. It didn't make a difference. Hugely successful. National leader of a thriving, growing country. Meaningless, he says. Generations come, they go, the sun rises, the sun sets, the water flows in and out of the sea. I'm making no difference, is what he said, on a grand scheme. Verse 8, he says this, everything is wearisome, beyond description. What he's saying, you can work hard, hard. It'll just wear you out. Like the end result of working hard, the real is you're just tired. It won't give you what you believe it's going to give you. It'll leave you wanting more. Now there's a gain to working hard. When you work hard, you make money. And when you make money, you can buy a bunch of stuff. And maybe the stuff you buy will give you the satisfaction you think. This again, I see myself in Solomon's thinking. I see you in the way that Solomon thinks. So he says this in verse 8. No matter how much we see, we're never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are not content. You can never do enough. You can never accumulate enough. You can never accomplish enough. There's not enough of that to give you satisfaction. Let's keep going. It's just never enough. No matter how much we get, fullness isn't found in possessions. It's not found in working hard. It's not found in accomplishments. It's meaningless. It's never enough. You'll always be asking, what's next? No matter what you get, there's always something else. Let's keep going. Meaningless. Verse 18, it says this. So he's tried work, he's tried possessions, we know he's wise, so he says this about wisdom. He decides, I'll try to learn as much as I can. The greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. Academia is not the answer. Learning more, it still won't leave you fulfilled. There's always more to be known. There's always somebody smarter. So knowledge isn't the answer. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1, it says this. I said to myself, come on then, let's try pleasure. Why? Because working didn't work. Possessions didn't work. Knowledge didn't work. Maybe pleasure. Maybe this life is just about pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. Partying, fun. I'll work hard all week. I know that won't satisfy me, but then I can enjoy the weekend. I'll go for all these experiences. Instagram is full of our best experiences. Why? Because we go after these things thinking that if I just have the better experiences, more, better, different, then I'll find satisfaction in the experiences. No. He continues in chapter 2, verse 1. He said, I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. But I found that this too was meaningless. There has to be something. He continues verse 2 and 3. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. He is being so honest. At least I can have a glass of wine at the end of the day. I have a bunch of friends on Instagram. There's no judgment here because my Instagram's full of like 2 topics. You can look at my Instagram, it's all motorcycles and food. I know, I got very limited interests. But a lot of my friends, their Instagram is full of flights of beer. It's like they're living, they just believe in the next flight will I find satisfaction. I just don't like beer, so that's why there's no pictures. But we do this. I can't afford a Ferrari. I think the Ferrari would make me happy. I can't afford it. So I'll just party more. Maybe there's satisfaction in another glass. The experiences, and he says, nope. Let's keep going, verses 2 and 3. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. See how he's come to see this way now. He thought maybe that was the answer. He's gone as far. He's had the best wines, right? He wasn't buying off the $11 shelf. Nope, he says. I tried to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world. But he's coming to the conclusion that no matter how far you pursue fulfillment and contentment and satisfaction and work and possessions and experiences and wisdom and pleasure, it will still leave a hole. Meaningless is his word for it. And I think some of us are living that experience. As I'm talking about this, you understand that like you're living life, and life is good, and you're thankful for the life you have, and you have all these things you've always wanted, but you know deep down inside there's still a nagging discontent. And you think there has to be more. Certainly I'm not just meant for my 80, 90, 100 years here and have no satisfaction, no meaning, then I pass on. Like, are we just a cosmic accident without purpose? Solomon's saying, no, there has to be more. I'm saying, no, there has to be more. Deep down inside of you, you know there has to be more. I think that's where that sense of longing and that discontentment comes to. So Solomon pushed it as far as he could go. He tried it all, and still it left him wanting more. He doesn't give us the answers. He just says, these things don't work. Well, I want to introduce you to a guy named Scott Harrison. Scott Harrison's sort of a modern-day Solomon on a smaller scale. He experienced everything he wanted. All his dreams came true. And still he felt like, this isn't cutting it. There has to be more. There has to be more meaning to life than this. And then he goes down a different avenue, and he discovers real meaning. So let's see what Scott says.
I grew up as an only child. I was the good church kid. At 18, like so many bad cliches, I rebel. Became a nightclub promoter. And over the next 10 years, from about 18 to 28, really climbed up New York's social ladder. At 28, I had gotten many of the things that I thought I wanted. My girlfriend was on the cover of magazines, I had a Beamer, I had a Rolex, I had a Labrador Retriever, I had a grand piano in my apartment in New York, and I was so unhappy. Something awakened in me, it was a realization maybe that I would never find happiness where I was looking for it. There would never be enough girls, there'd never be enough drugs, there'd never be enough parties. I guess it was a fresh look, being able to take a look at faith again with fresh eyes. And I became so compelled by a Jesus who went around serving the poor, who went around looking after others and lived a life of integrity. You know, this is a verse in James that I came across that said, true religion is to look after widows and orphans in their distress and to keep yourself from being polluted by the world. So I was 0 for 2. Not only had I done nothing for the poor in a decade, I literally polluted people for a living. I made this radical life move. I wound up selling all of my possessions. I joined this humanitarian mission, a group of medical doctors volunteering in West Africa, operating on a huge hospital ship, and I become their photojournalist. I saw a lot of stuff over those 2 years, and I think the thing that struck me the most was people drinking dirty water. Half of the country didn't even have their most basic need for health met. Half the country didn't have clean water to drink. And when I landed back in New York, I was 30. And this was the issue that I felt so compelled to work on. And Charity Water was definitely birthed out of my faith experience, of me returning back to Christ, to God again. And I believe that the idea of Charity Water is very close to God's heart. I believe the idea of a world where every single person drinks clean water is so fluid, is so in line with the heart of God, the heart of the Father. And it's an amazing thing to be able to do with my work. Over the last 9 years, we've raised almost $200 million. We've helped over 5.5 million people around the world get access to clean water, so we've made a little bit of a dent. And most importantly, the number of people without water has come down from 1 billion to 660 million. If I look back on it, I think this idea of really trying to serve God through my work, has changed everything in my life. But I think, you can do that wherever you are, whether you're a banker, whether you're a florist. You can bring, the kingdom values that you believe in into your work, into the way that you serve your customers, into the way that you lead your team members, into the way that you support others.
I want you to see this, that less of you is the key to a more full life. The common denominator in all of Solomon's pursuits was himself. Like, I'll be more successful, I'll be more content if I have more money. I'll be more content if I have more relationships. I'll be more content if I have more learning. I'll have more content if I can accomplish more. And he said, no, it's not. It's because the problem is he's the common denominator. When you're the focus of your life, there'll always be a gaping hole for more. Less of you is the key to a more full life. Carey Nieuwhof said this in his book, that there's no end to the sad discontent of making you the mission of your life. You are not the answer. Your life is not meant to be about you. But so many of us live from that perspective that I'll live my life for me. I'll live my life for my happiness, for my contentment, for my gain. And we need to recognize that the more we live for our own significance and our own meaningfulness, the less meaning we actually have. The more about me it is, the less full it will be. We should know this because Jesus taught this over and over again. Mark chapter 8. Jesus says, if you try to hang on to your life, if you make it all about you, you'll lose it. Right? You won't have any fulfillment. Your life won't be good. But, he says, if you give up your life, if you make it not about you, but others, for my sake and for the sake of the good news, like Scott Harrison did. He says, you'll gain your life. You'll find true life when you stop living for you and you start living for other people. And what do you benefit, he says, if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? What's he saying? He's saying, stop making your life about you. Find something bigger, something greater outside yourself. And actually tells us what it is. If you give up your life for what? To stop making it about you and you make it about Jesus and the good news. That's when you'll find true significance, true meaning, true fulfillment, true contentment. That's when you find deep soul level satisfaction. We think we can become satisfied by pursuing things that are for us. And Jesus is saying that's not how it works. You're not a cosmic accident. You are made on purpose for a purpose. Your purpose is tied to me, and it's tied to the good news and telling others about the good news. And the more you embrace it, the more life you're going to find, the more satisfaction you'll find, the more contentment. Your life is meant to be about the good news. This is something in our society, in this me society, that leaves you always wanting more. We have to learn this. The more I make my life about something outside myself, the more fulfilled I'll be. So I'd add this to the definition. I'd say this: less of you and more of Jesus' plan for you is the key to a more full life. And Jesus' plan for you is all about other people. We live a too me-centered life, and it leaves us wanting more, and it's a vicious cycle that's never satisfied. That's why we do Growth Track here. We really believe that you're made on purpose for a purpose. You're not a cosmic accident. God has a plan for your life. We want to help you discover that plan. That's why we run Growth Track every single Sunday after the celebration. Today's week 2, Connect in Community. Why? Is it so we have better teams serving here on Sunday morning? Yes and no. Like, there's a win for us in that when you go to Growth Track, we plug you in, we help you identify your gifts and find a place within our community to serve the community, and we become better. But that's only the first step. Our hope is actually that you'll come in and you'll serve here and you'll get really good at the thing that God's created you to do, and then you'll take it outside these walls and he'll use that same gift and talent and ability outside of here to bring people into relationship with himself. So you come in and on week 3 you do a spiritual gifts test and you find out you have the gift of hospitality. And so we put you on our cafe team because you just make people feel welcome. You serve coffee better than anybody else. And so you learn there and you practice there and you allow God to work through your life in the simple act of coffee. All the while that spiritual gift is being developed. So then you go home to your neighborhood and someone moves in across the street and you've got the gift of hospitality. And you say, why don't you come over and have dinner with us? And you invite them over and then God's able to work through your life in their life. Or you have the gift of teaching, and you come in here and you discover that, and then we put you up in Celebration Kids, or you're leading a community group, and you develop the spiritual gift of teaching. You might be a talented teacher. You need to be a spiritual gifted teacher. You need to practice on hearing how the Holy Spirit works and leads and guides your life. And as you get good at that, when you get better at that, then you're able to go out into the world outside these four walls, and God can use the gift of teaching to bring others into a relationship with him. I've got another video I want to show you. Is this one going to play? This one's even better. Okay, there's no audio. There's not supposed to be. That's not a technical issue. This is Ben Herbert. He's part of our church. He's right down there on the end. Ben works in the accounting department of a concrete business in Hamilton. And he worked with this woman named Lynn, who wasn't a person of faith. Yeah, you can clap for that. I think that's amazing. And Lynn found out that Ben is a Christian. And she started to ask him questions. And he said, do you want to do a Bible study? So the two of them began to do Bible study every day at work on their lunch. And she would ask questions, and he would do his best to answer. And over the course of a year, lunch after lunch after lunch, they worked their way through the entire New Testament together, just studying the Bible page by page, her asking questions, Ben doing his best to answer her questions. Got to the point when she had come to believe in Jesus, put her faith in Jesus, and was ready to be baptized. It's incredible. Well, I asked Ben what this was like, and I just want you to hear what he says. How did it feel to baptize my coworker? She had some knowledge of Jesus, but no faith at all. She just simply didn't believe. It was amazing to come alongside her and begin to talk about Jesus and eventually do a Bible study every week at work together. What a privilege. You see the words he's using? Amazing and privileged. Not meaningless, not empty, not dissatisfying. Amazing privilege. Why? Because he's tapping into God's purpose for his life. He's not living for him. He goes to work, pays the bills, it puts groceries on his table. But there's more. It's an opportunity to live for Jesus and live for the good news. Continues. Says, but if I'm being honest, I was nervous at times. There were many times I didn't know what to say or had to answer with. He had to answer with, I don't know. Over the last year, I check in and see where she was at with Jesus. And 2 weeks ago, she said she believed. She had faith and wanted to get baptized. So we made it happen. They baptized her. I believe it was in the boss's pool. Is that right? Yeah, it's an amazing story. I love it. It continues. If you're asking me how I feel, I'd say I feel obedient. I feel blessed. They're not meaningless, blessed. I feel blessed knowing one more child is being adopted into the kingdom of God, whom I'm able to walk alongside and continue to influence. Is that not amazing? Is that not like the greatest story? Our life is not meant to be about us. Ben's not meant to just go to work to earn money for food on his table. He's meant to go there and be about Jesus and be about the good news. And then this sort of thing can happen. It's amazing. He was made on purpose for a purpose. He taught her the meaning of the Bible. They opened the Bible together, and he did his best with the Holy Spirit's help to explain it. And guess what happened? It worked. And that's what he wants for all of us. What an amazing privilege to get to do that. Awesome. Jesus says this in Matthew chapter 6. Seek the kingdom of God above all else. And live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. What he's saying is God first, not you first. Amen. So many of us have that flipped upside down. We live our life with a little bit of God mixed in. And Jesus is saying to us, seek the kingdom first. I want you to see that that's not necessarily Jesus saying, this is what you have to do. I want you to see that Jesus is saying, this is the way to your best life. Like Jesus wants you to know fulfillment. He wants you to know significance. He wants you to know meaning. He says, I know the way I made you. And the way for you to have meaning and fulfillment and significance is to seek the kingdom first. Your best day at work will be the day you lead your friend from work to Jesus. Like raises are good, promotions are good, bonuses are good. Nothing beats leading someone to Jesus. And he calls us all to this, to stop making it about us and make it about someone else. Why? Not because we have to, but because we recognize that that's where real significance is. That's where real meaning is. So I want to encourage you to just maybe think through that. Do I need a shift in focus? Am I making it all about me, no matter how many times it fails to satisfy? And maybe I need to make it more about Jesus today. Make him the center. Make my life all about him and the good news and less about me. And ask him to give you an opportunity like Ben's. He wants to do that in your life. And then just see the significance and meaning and fulfillment that that brings. Some of you, maybe you've never entered into a relationship with Jesus. And you hear me talking and you recognize that there is a void inside of you that you've never been able to fill. It's a God-shaped hole. It's a Jesus-shaped hole. He's saying you're never going to feel full until you put me into the center of your life. I want to encourage you to do that today. It's simply like Lynn did. She believed. She recognized that what Jesus did on the cross, when he died on the cross, he died for her to bring her into relationship with the Father, to forgive all her sins, all those things that got in the way of that relationship. And when she said yes, he moved in and he filled her up. And then she, by baptism, she communicated to the world that she had made that decision. Some of you need to make that decision today, that there's an emptiness inside of you. You know you've never allowed Jesus to fill it. So I want to pray with you, give you an opportunity to pray and ask Jesus to come in and fill up that God-shaped hole. And then we're going to close with one more song. Father, I thank you that we're part of your big plan, and that our lives are not meant to be just about us. You got way bigger plans than that. I pray that each person here, that we would just lean in more to making our life about you and the good news and less about us. Why? Because there's fulfillment there. There's significance. There's just more. Father, help us to see the folly that these other pursuits are for what they are. The bigger TV won't make me happier. Faster car won't make me happier. Another relationship. I was made for more than that. I was made to be used by you to see your kingdom expand. Help me to live with your kingdom first. And if you've never before asked Jesus to be part of your life, then pray this. Say, Jesus, I believe. I believe that you died for my sins to bring me into a relationship with the Father. Just forgive my sins, I pray. I ask you to come and to fill me up. Fill up this aching hole that I've never been able to get rid of. Help me to live for you and for your kingdom. Thank you for your plan and your purpose for my life. Help me to follow after you every single day. Make a difference and find fulfillment in serving you. Pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.